Hello everyone and welcome to a game that finished basically a couple of minutes ago. It's from the match Daniil Dubov versus Hans Niemann that's taking place, that is taking place over the course of today and tomorrow. So 9 games will be played today, 9 games tomorrow of Blitz, 3+2 Blitz, and some crazy games were played. This is the one that I have chosen, but if you want to see all of them, I will put a link to all of the games on Leeches in the description below. First thing you will see, so you can check it out as well. And Hans just finished playing in the Aeroflot Open, and he agreed that once the tournament is finished, he will face Dubov in a match. And Hans was doing very well in the tournament, but in the end, it was won by Jani Pomniši. Second place was Richard Rapport, and Andrei Sipenko won third place. But now let's get to this game. So it was crazy start to the match. We even have a nice photo of the setup. Let me just load it up here. Yeah, you can check it out. This is where they're playing. So there's this gentleman here. He's setting up the clock for them. There's Hans on the right, Dubov on the left. You can see Daniil playing in his standard Balenciaga shirt that he always plays chess in. I'm guessing they're a sponsor, but you never know. Probably they are a sponsor. And this is game 6. Going into game 6, the score of the match is 2.5 to 2.5. Dubov started with a lead, then Hans caught up, and now they're on equal footing. And a win here could be very important. This is game 6, and game 6 is always important in any match. So let's check it out. Daniil has the white pieces, and he opens with pawn to c4. And this game, the lines are, they're everywhere. We're not going to overanalyze anything because it's Blitz, but we are going to check out a few of them. We have pawn to e5, knight to c3, and Hans already says, okay, enough with the opening preparation. Let's just play bishop to e7. It's a move that was played, maybe 5 times altogether since the beginning of time, and probably 3 of those 5 times by someone's uncle. So it's not a real move. And okay, Daniil plays e3 and already pawn to f5, and we have a completely new game. So that's what kind of a match this is. Daniil strikes with pawn to d4. We have pawn to d6, bishop to d3, and knight to f6. Playing very quickly, both of them blitzing out moves as this is Blitz. Knight g to e2 and castles kingside by Hans. b3, preparing to fianchetto the dark square bishop. Pawn to c6 and pawn to f3, strengthening the center. So we have some sort of a reversed Sicilian variation of the English. Bishop to e6 and now bishop to b2. Fianchettoing the dark square bishop, knight b to d7, queen to c2, nicely putting pressure along this diagonal, and pawn to g6. Hans strengthens the f5 pawn. Pawn to h4. Now Daniil wants to play h5. Maybe even you give up the rook if you can castle, get the rook into the game, and make your bishop pair fully operational. But it's still a bit early for that. Hans just plays queen to a5, and Daniil plays pawn to a3. Castling queenside is also perfectly fine. Rook a to e8 and castles queenside. And now Hans strikes with pawn to b5. You could also consider pawn to d5, pawn to e4. All of these are very good moves for Hans. He decides for pawn to b5, and Daniil could play pawn to b4, and he should. b4 is always the top move, but he decides to start his own attack on the king side. Plays pawn to g4. Now he has support for pawn to h5. But Hans is first to strike. He plays b captures on c4, b captures, and now pawn to e4. And this now becomes incredibly complicated. For a Blitz game where players are already below 2 minutes, this is impossible, of course, but we will mention a couple of very notable lines. F captures on e4. Hans goes knight captures on g4, threatening knight captures on e3 to win material, and Daniil just plays pawn to d5. And okay, what is this pawn to d5 business? Probably Daniil was looking into something like knight captures on e3, and he sacrifices the queen with d captures on e6. And if knight captures on c2, he would capture on d7, and after rook to b8, you will recapture on c2, and you get this very interesting position where Obviously, white does have compensation for the sacrifice queen. There's also a passed pawn on d7. Hard to say if you will be able to do anything with it. And black's position is winning, but only if you play pawn to f4 here, which is a move that definitely makes sense. You want to create a passed pawn. You want to start moving it forward. But also, you could consider moves like queen b6. Maybe you consider capturing. So, yeah, I mean, it's winning for black, but very, very difficult at this time control. So probably what Daniil was going for. Hans says, nope, I'm not interested in that kind of sorcery. I'm just going to go knight c5, which is the top move recommended by the engine. And Hans's position is now, well, seemingly unstoppable. So let's see what Daniil finds. We have knight to d4, putting pressure on that c6 pawn, and again inviting knight captures on e3. And here he does it. Knight captures on e3 with the fork, queen to e2, and now bishop to f6. Again, even stronger. And the problem is if now Daniil captures the knight on e3, Hans will capture on d4, and you cannot capture back, and your position is just really, really bad. If, of course, you capture, knight check will pick up the queen, and if you don't capture, not a lot to do with the queen. The rook is coming to b8, and that white king will get destroyed. So after b6, e5 was played, which, definitely looks like a move that doesn't really do anything, but we're used to Daniil making such moves. Bishop captures on e5, and now knight captures on c6. Now attacking the queen, and the bishop is now positioned on e5, so that is what the e5 move is doing. Queen to b6, and knight captures on e5, getting rid of this nasty bishop. Knight captures on d1, we have queen captures on d1, and now d captures on e5. And here, Daniil captures the bishop. There is nothing better. D captures on e6, and again, the position is winning for Hans, but there's only one winning move, and it's not that simple to find. So what would you play here? Even, feel free to pause the video. Hans has 8 seconds on the clock, so you have 8 seconds to solve this. Have at it. So the only move that wins for Hans is not knight captures on d3, the move that he played. It's actually rook b8. And not a lot you can do here. You can't really help out with the queen, because the queen is stuck guarding the bishop on d3. So if you move in to defend with the queen, you're just going to capture the bishop. And then if the queen captures, the bishop is again undefended. And if you move the bishop, then rook f to d8. And again, there's, not much you can do here. The knight can also deliver a check if needed. The queen can come into the game. This is very, very sad to look at. But little time on the clock, Daniil managed to trick him. After d captures on e6, Hans captured the bishop with knight captures on d3, queen captures, and he eliminated this nasty passed pawn. Queen captures on e6, and okay, it's still a game. There is increment, so we can continue playing. We have knight to d5 by Daniil, pawn to f4. Hans has 2 connected passed pawns, so he's probably thinking, I don't even have to calculate, we're just going to push the pawns and win the game. h5 by Daniil, we have queen to f5, attacking the queen, offering a queen trade, and queen to b3. Daniil declines this and positions his queen on the same diagonal as Hans's king on g8. We have pawn to g5, not allowing the h-file to open up, and pawn to c5, opening up the queen's diagonal. King to h8 by Hans, and now rook to e1. Hans continues pushing, pawn to f3, knight to e3 attacking the queen, and pawn to f2. We have rook to f1 and queen to e4 by Hans, preparing rook to f3. And once again, it seems that there is no way for Daniil to get out of this. He plays queen to c3, and now just rook to f3. There's no move that Daniil can play here, but somehow Daniil finds it. He plays king to d2, just defends his knight and says, all right, if we trade, I don't mind. I have a passed c-pawn. The f-pawn isn't going anywhere. Let's trade. And of course, you can't really do this. But again, Hans is completely winning. Can you see what Hans missed here in this position? He played the rook to b8, which definitely makes sense. I mean, you could capture on b2, then capture on e3, and it looks like absolutely everything is winning. The correct move was rook to d8 check, and it seems like it doesn't do anything because you can just move the rook and keep the knight defended, but there's this nasty rook captures on e3 check, and after queen captures, queen to c2 check, and now there's nothing you can do here. You either get give up the queen and get just lose the queen, or you go king f3 and then rook d3 again wins the queen, and that's pretty much it. But after king d2, rook to b8 was played by Hans, and now Daniil's position is completely winning, but he also has 4 seconds on the clock. Playing an increment, he doesn't see it. He plays bishop back to a1. But now Hans could again go into that position. If he plays rook captures on e3, everything is the same. Even though the rook is on b8, it doesn't matter. Queen captures on e3, he can go back rook to d8 with check, and we get the exact same position. Queen c2, you're going to move the king up, and the rook d3, exactly the same. But after bishop to a1, Hans doesn't see it. He plays rook to f4. He moves the rook away from the queen, and now Daniil just wins the game on the spot. I'm pretty sure you see it, because now with the rook on f4, it's even easier to see. The move in question is queen captures on e5, and now there's nothing more to be done here. Forks the rook, the king, the other rook, and the queen. This is really disgusting. Probably gonna even make this maybe a thumbnail, but we'll see. So yeah, queen captures on e5 was played, bishop captures on e5 with check, king captures and bishop captures on b8, and he was in this position on move 38 that Hans Niemann resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. He's down a bishop and a knight, and that's, I mean, of course, too much to handle. So he resigns, and Daniil took the lead here. And the match, well, not the match, the first half of the match, as we have 9 games today and 9 games tomorrow, ends with a result of 5.5 for Daniil, 3.5 for Hans Niemann. And I mentioned on Twitter that this will be a very, very difficult task for Hans, as Daniil is a world champion in rapid format. He is, in 2016, he got 2nd place in Blitz in Qatar, Doha. So, I mean, speed chess is definitely his thing, but even if you face him in classical, I mean, you can't expect much. So Hans is very strong, but Dubov is very, very strong as well. So we'll see what Hans brings tomorrow, whether he will, you know, throw out some classical preparation, or will he continue with some bishop e7 action. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Dubov wins the first half of the match. We'll see what happens tomorrow. But yeah, really complicated game. Like I said, I didn't want to overanalyze it, but you know, hope I covered it well. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. First link in the description below, all of the games they played. You can check them out on Lichess. Chess.com is not broadcasting them. I would like to thank Janko Popovic, Kushin for Pushin, Priscilla Woodley, Gerhard Homer, and David Gasparian for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.